The observation deck of Heaven's Rest space station hummed with nervous energy. As representatives from two worlds prepared for their first official meeting, through the massive transparent aluminum windows, stars wheeled slowly in the cosmic dance that had brought them all to this moment. Humans and Altarians, sitting down together for the first time in galactic history. Zara Mendez adjusted her tablet for the third time in as many minutes, her dark eyes scanning the xenobiological data one final time. At 28, she was the youngest member of the human diplomatic team, but her expertise in comparative biology had earned her a seat at this historic table. Her heart hammered against her ribs, though she told herself it was merely pre-meeting nerves. They should be arriving any moment now, whispered Marcus Webb, the lead diplomat, his weathered face creased with concentration. Remember, Dr. Mendez, we know very little about their social customs. Observe everything, but don't make assumptions. Zara nodded, tucking a strand of her black hair behind her ear, a nervous habit she'd never quite managed to break. The Altarians had made first contact 18 months ago, approaching humanity's outer colonies with messages of peace and diplomatic offers. Their technology was clearly advanced, but their intentions remained tantalizingly unclear. The soft hiss of the airlock drew everyone's attention. Zara's breath caught as the portal dilated, revealing the Altarian delegation for the first time in person. Rather than through holographic transmission, they were beautiful in a way she hadn't expected. The lead figure stepped into the human space with confident movements, tall, graceful, with skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner luminescence. His features were humanoid but refined, as if humanity had been sculpted by an artist with impossibly high standards. His hair was deep auburn that caught and held light, and his eyes, their gazes met across the room, and Zara felt something electric pass between them. His eyes were amber shot through with flecks of gold, holding an intelligence and warmth that transcended species. For a moment that stretched like eternity, the formal diplomatic setting fell away, leaving only two beings seeing each other truly. For the first time, I am Kepher of the fourth house of Altair Prime, he said, his voice carrying a musical quality that made Zara's pulse quicken. His English was perfect, though accented in ways that suggested a completely different vocal structure. I serve as diplomatic attaché for this historic meeting. Marcus stepped forward with practiced diplomatic grace, but Zara barely heard the formal introductions. She was studying the subtle differences in Altarian physiology, the slightly elongated limbs suggesting adaptation to lower gravity, the way their luminescent skin seemed to respond to emotional states, the graceful movements as if they were dancing rather than merely walking. But it was more than scientific curiosity. Something about Kepher drew her in ways that had nothing to do with xenobiology, and everything to do with the flutter in her stomach when he looked her way. Dr. Zara Mendez, she introduced herself when Marcus gestured her forward. Xenobiologist and cultural consultant. Kepher's face lit up with genuine interest. A student of life in all its forms. How fascinating. He performed what seemed to be a formal gesture, pressing his palm to his chest and inclining his head. I have great respect for those who seek to understand rather than merely observe. The formal meetings that followed passed in a blur of trade discussions, cultural exchange protocols, and careful diplomatic language. But throughout the hours of structured conversation, Zara found herself stealing glances at Kepher, noting the way he listened intently to each speaker, the graceful gestures he made when emphasizing points, and how his luminescent skin pulsed gently when he was deep in thought. During a break in the proceedings, she found herself alone on the observation deck, gazing out at the stars and trying to process the day's revelations. The formal first contact had gone better than anyone had dared hope, but her mind wasn't on diplomatic implications. The view is quite extraordinary from here, a familiar musical voice said behind her. Zara turned to find Kepher approaching, having somehow moved with complete silence across the deck. Up close, she could see that his skin held patterns of luminescence that shifted and flowed like aurora across a night sky. It's humbling, she replied, surprised by how natural it felt to talk with him. Despite the vast differences between their species, all those stars, all those possible worlds, makes you realize how small we are. Small, perhaps, but not insignificant, Kepher said, moving to stand beside her at the observation window. My people have a saying, the smallest light can illuminate the deepest darkness. Your species has traveled so far from your home star in such a short time. That speaks to remarkable spirit. What about your people? Zara asked, genuinely curious. How long have you been traveling among the stars? Longer than your civilization has existed, Kepher admitted, but without arrogance. Yet in all our travels, we have rarely encountered a species with such vitality, such passionate engagement with existence itself. Something in his tone made her look at him more carefully. The patterns in his skin were shifting in ways she hadn't seen during the formal meetings, becoming more vibrant and complex. Is that what drew you to make contact with us? She asked. Our vitality. Kepher was quiet for a long moment, his amber eyes fixed on the stars beyond the window. Among other things, we have watched your people from afar, studied your transmissions, your art, your literature. There is something in humanity that resonates with us. He turned to face her fully, and the intensity in his gaze made her breath catch. Despite all your differences, your conflicts, your struggles, you have never lost your capacity for hope, for love, for believing that tomorrow might be better than today. The sincerity in his voice touched something deep within her chest, and Zara realized that this moment, this connection forming between them, might change everything she thought she knew about love across the stars. 3 weeks after the initial diplomatic meeting, Zara found herself staring at her personal communication device at 0300 ship time, waiting for a signal that shouldn't exist. The diplomatic teams had returned to their respective worlds, leaving behind carefully worded treaties and formal communication protocols. What they hadn't left behind was any provision for personal contact between individual humans and Altarians. Yet here she was, her heart racing as the device chimed softly with an incoming transmission on a frequency that officially didn't exist. Zara, Kepher's voice came through the speakers, slightly distorted by the makeshift encryption they'd cobbled together. Even through the static, the musical quality of his speech made her pulse quicken. I'm here, she whispered, glancing toward her quarters door as if someone might burst through at any moment. How did you manage to? My friend Sithara is quite gifted with communication systems, he said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. Though I suspect your colleague Nico had something to do with making this possible from your end. Zara felt her cheeks warm. Nico Petrov, the human communications specialist, had indeed approached her the week before with a knowing look and a small modification to her personal device. Just in case you need to reach anyone unofficially, he'd said with a wink. We shouldn't be doing this, she said, even as she settled more comfortably on her bed, pulling a blanket around her shoulders. Her research station orbited Jupiter, and the late-night hours always felt cold despite the environmental controls. No, we shouldn't. Kepher agreed, yet here we are. They'd been talking like this for a week now, stolen conversations in the quiet hours when their respective crews were asleep. What had started as scientific curiosity about each other's cultures had evolved into something deeper, more personal. Tell me about your world, Zara said, as she had every night. Not the official details from the diplomatic briefs, the real Altair Prime. Kepher's laugh was soft and warm. Tonight the aurora are particularly beautiful. They dance across our sky in patterns that would make your northern lights seem pale by comparison. The second moon is full, casting silver light across the crystal forests, living crystals that grow like your trees, singing in harmonics when the wind passes through them. I wish I could show you. His voice grew wistful. I wish I could share the symphony of my world with you. Zara closed her eyes, imagining alien forests of living crystal. Their songs carried on winds she'd never feel. I wish you could too. Earth has its own wonders. Though, have you ever seen recordings of bioluminescent plankton, the creatures that light your oceans? Yes, though recordings cannot capture the full experience, I imagine. When I was a child, my family vacationed on the coast of Chile. I remember running along the beach at night, and every footstep would light up the water in electric blue. It was like running through liquid starlight. Liquid starlight, Kepher repeated softly. Your language creates such beautiful images. We have a similar phenomenon in our inland seas. Though our light singers create patterns in gold and green, they talked for hours, sharing memories of their worlds, their childhoods, their dreams. Zara learned that Keffer had wanted to be an artist before duty called him to diplomatic service, that he could play an instrument called a vorthala that resonated with the listener's emotional state. Keffer discovered that Zara had nearly become a teacher instead of a scientist, that she collected old paper books despite their rarity, and that she dreamed of seeing the crystal forests of Altair Prime. My father would be horrified if he knew about these conversations, Keffer admitted during one of their late-night talks. High Counselor Murthick believes emotional attachments compromise diplomatic objectivity. My sister Elena would probably try to have me reassigned, Zara replied. She's already suspicious about my unusual interest in Altarian culture. Being a politician makes her paranoid about anything that might cause a scandal. Are you worried about scandal? Keffer asked, his voice gentler than usual. Zara considered the question. By all rational measures, she should be terrified. Her career, her reputation, possibly even her freedom could be at stake if their clandestine communications were discovered. Fraternization with alien species wasn't explicitly forbidden simply because no one had thought it necessary to forbid something so unlikely. I should be, she said finally, but when I talk to you it doesn't feel forbidden. It feels right, like this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, even if where I am is talking to someone light years away in the middle of the night. I understand, Keffer said softly. Among my people, we have a concept called sethkalar, the recognition of a kindred soul. It transcends physical form, species, even time itself. It is the acknowledgement that two beings are meant to find each other across any distance. Sethkalar, Zara repeated, the alien syllables feeling strange, but somehow comfortable on her tongue. Is that what this is? I believe so, he said, though I fear where such recognition might lead us. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime from Zara's door. She froze, finger hovering over the disconnect button. Dr. Mendes, Nico's voice came through the intercom. Sorry to bother you so late, but we're getting some unusual readings from the communication array. Thought you might want to take a look. Zara's heart sank. Had they been discovered? I have to go, she whispered, into the communicator. Until tomorrow night, Keffer replied, but she could hear the worry in his voice. The holographic display flickered to life in Elena Vasquez's pristine office, overlooking the United Earth Government complex in Geneva. Her sister's face materialized before her, looking tired and defensive even across the vast distance between Earth and Jupiter Station. Elena, I can explain, Zara began, but Elena held up a hand. 6 months, Zara. 6 months of unauthorized communications with an alien entity. And you thought no one would notice? Elena's voice carried the cold professionalism that had made her one of Earth's youngest planetary representatives. But underneath lay the hurt of a sister who felt betrayed. Zara's heart sank. She'd known this day would come, but she'd hoped for more time. How did you find out? Intelligence sweeps pick up everything eventually. Did you really think you could hide quantum encrypted transmissions forever? Elena leaned forward, her dark eyes so similar to Zara's blazing with a mixture of anger and concern. Do you have any idea what kind of position this puts me in? What it could do to the peace treaty? It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. Elena's composure cracked slightly. My sister, a respected xenobiologist, having secret, romantic communications with an alien diplomat. The media would have a field day. The hardliners in Parliament are already looking for excuses to break off relations with the Altarians. Meanwhile, millions of miles away on Altair Prime, a similar confrontation was taking place in the crystalline halls of the High Council. Keffer stood before his father, High Counselor Murthick, his luminescent skin dim with shame and defiance. You have compromised everything we have worked to achieve. Murthick's voice resonated through the chamber, his towering form radiating disappointment. Unlike his son's warm amber skin, the High Counselor's flesh held cooler tones, silver and blue, that spoke of age, wisdom, and rigid adherence to duty. Father, if you would only listen to what? Your excuses for violating the most fundamental precepts of diplomatic conduct. Murthick's skin patterns shifted to deep purple. A sign of barely controlled anger. The Council has monitored your communications, Kepher. Your emotional attachment to this human female threatens everything we have built. Kepher's own skin flared with golden defiance. She has a name, Zara, and what we have transcends your political calculations. What you have is a dangerous obsession that clouds your judgment. Murthik replied coldly. Do you think this is the first time in our long history that such attractions have occurred between species? There are reasons we maintain distance, son. Emotional bonds lead to compromised loyalties, to conflicts of interest that can destroy civilizations, or they can bridge the gaps between them. Kepher said quietly, you speak of maintaining distance, but what if closeness is what both our species need? Back on Earth, Elena paced behind her desk, her heels clicking sharply against the polished floor. Zara, listen to me carefully. This has to stop. Now, today, I love him. Zara said simply, the words hanging in the space between them like a challenge. Elena stopped pacing. Love, Zara, you've never even been in the same room with him since that first diplomatic meeting. You don't know what love is with someone you can only talk to through a communication device. Don't I? Zara's voice grew stronger. We've shared our thoughts, our dreams, our fears. We've talked for hours about everything and nothing. He knows me better than most humans ever have, and I know him. Love isn't just physical proximity. Elena, it's also not a foundation for interspecies relations. Elena shot back. Do you understand the biological impossibility of what you're suggesting? Even if society could accept such a union, the genetic incompatibility alone, we've discussed that. Zara interrupted. There are possibilities, theoretical frameworks. My research suggests that with advanced genetic therapy, your research, Elena's voice rose to a dangerous pitch. Tell me you haven't been using government resources to explore reproductive compatibility with aliens. Zara's silence was answer enough. On Altair Prime, Kepher faced similar accusations from his father. The genetic material you requested from the biomedical archives, Murthik said, his voice deadly quiet. It was for her, wasn't it? For this impossible fantasy of hybrid offspring. It's not impossible, Kepher replied, though his skin betrayed his uncertainty with flickering patterns. The research indicates that with proper intervention, the research indicates disaster. Murthik cut him off. Even if such a creation were viable, what life would it have? Neither fully human nor Altarian, accepted by neither species. You would condemn your own child to eternal exile, or give it the chance to be the first of something new. Kepher said desperately, the first bridge between our worlds. Murthik's skin went completely silver, the Altarian equivalent of going pale. You are more far gone than I feared. There will be no more communication with the human. Your diplomatic status is hereby revoked. You will remain on Altair Prime until this madness passes. Elena delivered a similar ultimatum to her sister. You're being reassigned. Effective immediately. You're returning to Earth for a position with the Antarctic Research Station. No communication equipment beyond standard channels. No access to deep space transmissions. You can't do this, Zara protested. I can and I am. As your sister and as a representative of Earth's government, I'm protecting you from yourself. This fantasy ends now. That night, for the first time in months, the secret frequency remains silent. On opposite sides of the galaxy, two hearts ached with the same pain of forced separation. Zara sat in her quarters, staring at the disabled communication device, while Kepher stood at his window overlooking the crystal forests, their songs now seeming mournful rather than beautiful. Neither knew that their families' attempts to separate them had already set in motion events that would make their reunion both more desperate and more dangerous than either could imagine. For in the depths of space, a message was already traveling toward Earth, a message that would change everything. The Antarctic Research Station felt like exile in the truest sense. Zara pressed her gloved hand against the reinforced window of her laboratory, watching the endless white expanse that stretched toward the horizon. 3 months had passed since Elena had banished her to Earth's most isolated continent, and every day felt like a year. Dr. Mendez, the voice of Dmitry Volkov, the station's military liaison, interrupted her brooding. His presence at the research station had always seemed To Zara, what need did scientists studying ice cores have for military oversight? You have a priority communication from Geneva. Zara turned, hope fluttering in her chest despite herself. Perhaps Elena had reconsidered. Perhaps, but the face that appeared on the communication screen wasn't her sister's. It was Marcus Webb, the lead diplomat from the original First Contact mission, and his expression was grave. Zara, I need you to sit down, Marcus said without preamble. She remained standing, her heart beginning to race. What's happened? We've received a message from Altair Prime, through official diplomatic channels this time. It's concerning. The screen split, showing a second image, an Altarian female with skin that shimmered in patterns of deep blue and silver. Her features were elegant but stern, radiating authority. I am Valandra, peace negotiator of the Altarian High Council, the alien said in flawless English. I bring urgent communication regarding the diplomatic incident involving Kepher of the Fourth House. Zara's breath caught. Incident? What incident? Marcus looked uncomfortable. 3 weeks ago, Kepher attempted to commandeer an Altarian transport vessel. His apparent intention was to travel to Earth. He was stopped, but not before Zara. He was injured in the confrontation. Severely. The world seemed to tilt around her. How severely? Valandra's image leaned forward slightly. Dr. Mendez, Kepher is alive, but his condition is complicated. During his attempt to reach you, he was exposed to quantum radiation from the ship's damaged drive core. The exposure has affected his neural pathways in ways our medical technology cannot fully reverse. What does that mean? Zara's voice was barely a whisper. It means he is losing himself, Valandra said with clinical precision. His memories are fragmenting. His personality is changing. Our physicians estimate he is perhaps 6 months before the damage becomes irreversible. The laboratory spun round Zara, and she gripped the edge of the console for support. There has to be some treatment. There may be, Marcus said carefully, but it would require joint human-Altarian medical collaboration. And given the current political climate, no. The voice came from behind them. Zara turned to see Elena entering the laboratory. Her face set in hard lines. Absolutely not. Elena, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. Elena cut her off. This is emotional manipulation. They're using your feelings to pressure us into deeper collaboration, possibly even to get you to Altair Prime where they can use you as leverage. Valandra's skin patterns shifted to what Zara had learned indicated offense. I assure you, Representative Vasquez, the Altarian High Council does not engage in such crude tactics. Kepher's condition is genuine, and our concern is humanitarian. Humanitarian, Elena repeated coldly. How convenient that your humanitarian crisis requires my sister's presence on your world. Dmitri stepped forward, his military bearing evident. There's another complication. Our intelligence suggests that hardline factions on both worlds are using this situation to push for complete cessation of diplomatic relations. Some human politicians see Kepher's actions as proof that Altarians can't be trusted. Some Altarian counselors view it as evidence that contact with humans leads to dangerous instability. Zara felt trapped between impossible choices. Kepher was dying, losing himself piece by piece, and she was the only one who might be able to help him. But doing so would risk everything both species had worked to build. There's something else, she said quietly, her hand moving unconsciously to her stomach. Something you all need to know. Elena's eyes followed the gesture, and her face went pale. No. Tell me you didn't. I'm pregnant, Zara said, the words falling into the room like stones into still water. 3 months along. The timing. It happened during one of our last communications before you separated us. Silence stretched like a taut wire. Valandra's skin patterns shifted rapidly through a spectrum of colors that suggested profound shock. Marcus looked like he might faint. Elena sat down heavily in the nearest chair. That's impossible, Dmitri said finally. Cross-species reproduction is theoretically possible with the right genetic compatibility and environmental conditions. Zara finished. Kepher and we found a way. During one of our conversations, he guided me through a process, a sharing of genetic material through quantum entangled particles. It's experimental, dangerous, but she placed both hands on her still flat stomach. But it worked. I'm carrying the first human-Altarian hybrid child. Elena's voice was hollow. My God, Zara, what have you done? I've created something new, Zara said, surprising herself with the strength in her voice. Something that could be the bridge between our species, but only if Kethver survives to see it born. Valandra leaned forward, her skin now displaying patterns Zara had never seen before, complex swirls of gold and silver that seemed to pulse with their own rhythm. The child. It changes everything. If such a being is truly viable, it represents possibilities we never imagined, but it also represents dangers neither species is prepared for. What kind of dangers? Marcus asked. A hybrid child might possess abilities from both species enhanced in ways we cannot predict. It could be seen as a weapon by those who fear change or as salvation by those who embrace it. Elena stood slowly, her politician's mind already working through the implications. This can't become public knowledge, not yet. The panic alone could destroy the peace treaty. Then what do we do? Zara asked. Dimitri's expression was grim. We get you to Altair Prime. Quietly and unofficially, you try to save Kethver, and we pray that neither of your governments discovers what's really at stake until we can figure out how to protect both of you.